Okay, here we are in the Lightroom interface, and as usual with the Lightroom interface it will put you into the develop module, primarily because that's where you left it, having done your last picture. But to get a picture into Lightroom you need to come into the library module. Over here on the left we've got our folders, and we can pick our picture from there if we want. I find that rather time consuming, so I cheat and I come down to the bottom bar. I go in this icon here, which is the file menu, click on pictures, and there's the image I want. So I click on it, highlight it, and drag it in. Once we've got it in, it's still not actually in Lightroom until we hit the import button down the bottom here, bottom right. Now we have to click on the image to make it live, then we click on develop, their image in the develop module, and now we have all of these tools on the side here that we can use. We'll start at the top because we need to get rid of this wonky horizon, and we need to get rid of this dot, and both of the tools for doing that are here. The first one is this one, crop overlay tool. If I click on that, you'll see we suddenly get lines all the way around the outside, and we get grid lines in the middle. By clicking on these we can drag our image how we want it. We'll leave it as it is at the moment, but we'll come down to a bottom corner, so we go down to the bottom right hand corner, come off the image, and you'll see that you'll get two little arrows, one pointing up, one pointing down, joined together. By moving that to the right, the image can be straightened up. So that looks pretty straight to me. So we'll hit return, and that's that part of it done. Oh no, I've probably gone a bit too far. Let's take it back again. So we go back in, click again, take it back a bit. That's better. So that's that one finished with. We're now gone to the spot removal tool. Now this works slightly different in 5 to what it does in 4. In 5 you get a double little circle like this, and the middle is the bit which moves, the outside is the feather, how much of it is blended into the rest of it. You will get just a plain circle in 4, and also how it works is slightly different. Now when I put the cross over the item and click, it's immediately gone to the sky. It's gone to the sky because the tones are exactly the same, but it's now put a sky where the sea should be, so that's no good. So we need to actually turn that back into sea. So we go up to the top one where it's chosen from the sky, left click, and that closes the fist, and then we drag down and we drag it to a position where the sea looks about the same, and we let go. Now we've got this set to clone, so that means that it's just copied that to there. So what I'm going to do now is I don't want that, so I'm going to come back over to here, and this is our history over here. Now you can have this on the screen at all times, I tend not to. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to crop angle, and that brings us back our dot. Now anything I now do after here will delete that lot, and it'll start again. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of over on the top right hand corner where the little box comes down for the spot removal tool, I'm going to change that to heal. Then what that does is it keeps exactly the same tones and shapes, but just, see now it says pick from the sea now, but I think that's a little bit too bright, so I'm going to come in like that. But it doesn't make it makes it far less obvious because it's actually blended it in a lot better, whereas the clone just takes the spot from one area and puts it in another. Okay, so then we come over here, click on that, we're out of there, we've lost the spot, we've got a straight horizon, or a straighter horizon anyway, and now we can come down to the develop tools down here. First of all, we've got temperature, we've got tint, we've got exposure, and we've got contrast. Temperature, if we go to the right, makes it yellow. If we go to the left, it makes it blue. Tint alters that just slightly, but does much the same thing. Exposure, obviously, you can do what you want. You can make your picture look how you want. Contrast, exactly the same. High contrast, low contrast. But for the moment we're going to leave those alone, and we're just going to come straight down here to highlights. Now all of these tools, let me put it this way, is if we highlight by hovering over it with the cursor, we can then use our up and down keys to just go in small steps, up and back down again. But we can do that with any of these sliders. So what we need to do now is we need to, with what I always do with a landscape, you need detail in the sky, you need detail in the land. So I knock the highlights right down to nothing. That gives us a lot of detail in the sky, hasn't affected anything else at all other than perhaps the sea. This bit hasn't been affected. Then we grab hold of the shadows and we'll pull that extremely to the right. Now you can see what that's done. That's opened up the land quite a bit, and that looks quite nice. The only trouble is it's now a bit lacking in contrast down there, so what we're going to do is use the black slider and just pull it down. To the left makes it blacker, to the right makes it lighter, and that looks quite nice. So now we've got some decent characteristics in the landform. The sky could be a bit different, so I'm just going to lift that slightly with the white slider, just by moving that up slightly. So let's go back to our history over here. This is where we started, and this is where we are now. So we've already made a world of difference. Now we're going to go down to the next lot, which are your presets here. Presets rather, not presets, can't read. Clarity is like sharpening, but doesn't actually sharpen, it increases definition. So if I move that over quite a bit, let's take it along to about 50, you'll see the difference. Now if I take it out, you'll see it drop. If I put it up, gives a bit more definition to the sky and a bit more definition to the land. Vibrance increases the colours, but not like saturation, it just makes them look brighter. So I'm going to increase that a bit. So now we've got that. And it's looking quite nice. Coming down further, we've then got a tone curve. Now here we can alter the highlights just by moving that wherever we want it. Double click on it to put it back to naught. Shadows. We can do what we want really. Marvellous. Now before we go down here, I'm going to go back up to the top again, because there's some yellow in this sky here which isn't coming out particularly well. It'll come out more if I drop the exposure down, but then we'll lose the land. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this tool over here, the adjustment brush. I click on that, and then I come over here to where I want it to be used. I'm scrolling with my mouse wheel to make it a fairly big shape. Click on the sky and it gives us a dot. Now from that dot there are a number of things we can do. We can increase the temperature, we can increase the tint, exposure, all the things we did before. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to increase the temperature because I want it slightly yellower. So now when I draw over, you have to now draw over, you'll see that I'm making it far more yellow. Right, now I'm going to make it smaller and come down here and do the sea as well. Now that's probably a little bit too much, so I'll go back up to the temperature, hover over it, use the down keys just to take it out a little bit. That's not too bad. Now I need to do something with the land down here as well. We've got some dark areas, the path is pretty nondescript. So if we click back on the adjustment brush top right, that disappears. We click on it again, that one comes back but isn't active, it's not got the spot in it. So we come down here and we click on that. That now makes this active. Now what we want to do is we need to lighten the exposure. So I'm going to push that up a little bit, then I'm going to come down and I'm just going to draw on the path. Make it a bit smaller for the far end. That's it. Okay, then bigger, and then we'll put a bit of light coming in down there. More or less where you want it to be, really, just to increase the contrast bit in the image. So that's looking quite nice. So now we can come out of that. So back to the adjustment brush, click on it, and they both disappear. The good thing about this is you can always go back and adjust one or the other. Just click on it again, and we're now back into the adjustment screen. If you click on it and hold, it tends to go pink to show that you've got it all, or whatever the colour is. Anyway, we don't need it anymore, so we come out of that. If we go down here, we can now adjust colours individually. So although we've got some yellow in the sky, there's some orange there as well, so I'm just going to boost the orange a bit. We're in Luminance at the moment. I'm going to go back into the saturation. Now because I've gone back into that, I'm going to come over to the left here, and I'm going to go back to brush stroke there, add brush stroke, because that then deletes the last step I took. So I'm now in saturation. I'm going to increase the orange just slightly. I'm going to increase the yellow just slightly. There we are, and that's much better. Now what we could also do here is we could adjust the greens a bit more, and we start ending up with a rather good, powerful image. Now we could go into Luminance. Now this will do exactly the opposite of what the other one does. If we go on the yellow slider, for example, if I boost it, it will go rather white. If I drop it, you can see it's absolutely awful. So we put it back where it was. That's okay. The green, I think I'm going to boost just slightly, so I'll boost that up to there, and that makes this bank now a lot brighter than what it was before. Now if we go back over here to the history, we can see by scrolling to the bottom, that's what we started with, and that's what we ended up with. And we've done all that without having to worry ourselves, without having to do anything tricky or exciting. We've just used a couple of tools and a brush, and that's what we've come up with. Right, now the next thing we're going to do is all these manipulations affect areas of one tone. So if we go into the sky, just by clicking on it with the left click, you can see all the graininess up here. It's not too bad, and when you zoom out you probably say it's not worth bothering with, but I'll show you how to get rid of it anyway. So we go down further now, we come to this picture here, and now we can sharpen and we can noise reduction, and this is called luminance noise. Now depends how much you really want to take out. Let's start there and see what happens. Now if you watch the image at the top in the clouds, and then watch as I click it up to about a halfway point, you will see that the dots slowly disappear, and that's what happens. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Click on that. That brings us back to where we were. So we've now got an image that isn't noisy and has been adjusted to within an inch of its life, really. All we've got to do now is save it. Now Lightroom only works on a copy of your image. It never works on the original image, so whatever you do to it doesn't affect your original image. So it takes a copy of it, we do all the work on the copy, and then when we save it, that copy is saved to a separate location. Now as you saw when I got the image, that came from pictures. So what we need to do now is send this back to the same file but in a different location. So we right click, we come down to export, and we go up to export. We could have done export with previous, as that's already in the right thing, but just to show you. So I'm exporting to a specific folder in the pictures folder which is called amended, and that way both the pictures are kept completely separate from each other. So when I then come down here and press export, it tells me that I've already done one. So I'm going to overwrite it. I don't want that one. I'm going to overwrite it, and that leaves me with the image here. I now need to get rid of the image, so I'll go down to remove photo, click on that, and we've got remove or delete from disk. Now if we delete from disk, that literally means that it puts it in the recycle bin, it throws it away completely. We don't want that, we just want to remove it from Lightroom, so we hit that button. Okay, I think that's about it. That shows you what the power of Lightroom is, and hopefully it gives you some idea as whether you'd be able to use it or not.